eBay, Etsy, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, Let Go, Nextdoor. These are all great platforms to find deals for secondhand or even brand new merchandise. And more importantly, these are excellent options for anyone to get started selling online and building a small business or side hustle in just a few clicks and swipes. And I have some even better news for you because the IRS just postponed their rule change on digital payment reporting for small businesses and side hustles. So, woohoo! We actually get a break this time. It happens once in a while. Well, not exactly, because there's a new law that just rolled out, and it's going to drive the 44 million 1099-K form tax filers, including small business owners, freelancers, those with side hustles, and gig workers who receive business income from their goods and services via payment apps and online marketplaces like Venmo, Cash App, Etsy, and Airbnb, to the brink of potentially being shut down and put out of business, or worse, they will be arrested and locked up and thrown in jail. It's called the Inform Act, and it essentially is their legal way of turning legitimate business owners into criminals who are guilty until proven innocent. And the CEO of eBay even said himself, "I support the American Rescue Plan, but a little known provision will hurt millions of Americans who buy and sell used goods online." Uh-oh. That doesn't sound good. All right, everyone, let's dive right in and get all the latest and breaking info, warnings, and alerts. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I really do appreciate you, and thanks for all of your support. And there's a link below in the description. Get your free stocks today. It just takes a second. All right. So the increase in retail theft and particularly smash and grab incidents that we have been seeing and hearing about all over the news all year have gained even more attention from 911 dispatch, and the evolving law enforcement and retail industry has finally responded. But what they just did may not be what you and I would think of when working up and formulating a solution to save and protect small businesses, shoppers, and everyone else who's just in general honest and good, wholesome people. So in all these legislative bodies, politicians, elected officials, and lawmakers, boardroom meetings, and congressional hearings, they seemingly unanimously pulled together their best efforts to combat theft through measures by passing new laws. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to the latest and greatest, and it's called the Integrity, Notification, and Fairness in Online Retail Marketplaces for Consumers Act. Whew, that's a mouthful. Or you can refer to it by its shortened acronym, the Inform Act, which mandates online platforms to collect more information about high-volume sellers to curb the sale of stolen goods. And furthermore, in uber progressive left-leaning blue states like California, Dems have established interagency task force to tackle organized retail crime with significant investments in such initiatives. But basically what they're saying is if you're selling a high volume and you're making a lot of money, then they're going to assume that you are selling stolen goods. But don't worry. They're going after the business owners first, okay? Now they say that the law enforcement officials attribute the rise in retail theft to a perceived sense of impunity among thieves, exacerbated by pandemic-era policies that reduced consequences for property crimes and theft under a certain dollar amount. And now in response, police departments in areas with high theft rates like Bellevue, Washington, have adopted proactive measures such as undercover stakeouts in unmarked vehicles to apprehend shoplifters in collaboration with store loss prevention teams. Unless it's Target, because Target doesn't want anyone to know that people are stealing from their stores. I'll have to tell you about that one later. And they say that the effectiveness of these tactics is evident in instances where shoplifters are apprehended on the spot. However, these operations are labor-intensive and cannot be conducted frequently without extreme added expense to be paid by taxpayers. And their goal is to create a deterrent effect, communicating to potential criminals that theft will result in immediate arrest. But this includes the honest, the hardworking small business entrepreneurs trying to operate successful side hustles just to get by and generate a little bump in their income that will barely even put a dent in bridging the gap and the divide created by unbelievably high inflation and hiked up interest rates. But some retailers vary in their approach to handling theft, with some reluctant to report incidents to the police, complicating the tracking of retail theft statistics. And the National Retail Federation's survey indicates an increasing concern among store managers about organized retail crime and other external thefts. Plus, there's an ongoing debate over responsibility, with police suggesting retailers could better protect their inventory and retailers arguing for more police support. Yeah, just a bunch of this going on. Now, their store policies often discourage employees from confronting shoplifters due to the risk of violence and liability. And we have all seen the viral smash and grab videos on TikTok and Twitter. And this has led to situations where employees feel vulnerable and unprotected, as exemplified by a strike by Macys workers in Seattle demanding higher pay and more security. And there have even been some employees who have faced disciplinary action for attempting to stop thieves, which is just, in my opinion, too dangerous. And it just further contributes to a sense of frustration and anxiety among retail staff. I mean, I saw a woman just about get run over by a car in a Walmart parking lot while she was trying to stop thieves from stealing a large flat screen TV. Or how about the man that worked at the Home Depot and was aggressively shoved to the ground as the robber walked right out of the front door with no remorse? The man who worked at the Home Depot ended up dying later from the injuries that he sustained. But back to this new Inform Act, because it essentially makes successful online sellers criminals in the eyes of law enforcement and branches of government. And the worst part about it is the fact that lots of folks thrift and engage in retail arbitrage. And odds are most casual sellers are unlikely to have the original receipt from the old bike or stroller or gently used shoes that they sold online. And to be frank, it's unreasonable to require such proof given the small transactions involved. But their sole intent is to further ruin the lives of people just trying to make it and provide for their families, not go hungry, avoid eviction, avoid foreclosure, and be forced to live unhoused or in their car, truck, or van. And with the added burden of the IRS's new lower side hustle income reporting threshold requirements, many online sellers will decide that they need to hire a tax expert, while others will simply over-report their income to be on the safe side and essentially just wasting money and throwing it away and handing it over on a silver platter to the Internal Revenue Service that could have a real impact on household budgets. So all I can say is just be careful. Just be careful. If you're experiencing tremendous sales and revenue from selling goods online, even handmade crafts that you're making at home in your bedroom or in your basement or in your living room, because they're targeting those who have been successful and are working hard to dig themselves out of the poverty hole. And this stick thrown in the spokes could wreck a seller's day, their motivation, their momentum, and overall success. Until they can prove their innocence and provide receipts and documentation for the used Nike Cortez or Umbro running shorts that they picked up at a garage sale or bought off of a friend for cheap and plan to sell and flip on eBay or Etsy for a profit. Which this leads me to pointing out the perks and benefits to print on demand, because this eliminates and alleviates a lot of the problems with documenting proof because it's right there in front of you. If you guys want to know more about that, let me know. So the IRS wants their pound of flesh, and they would prefer nothing more than to see us go without. But for now, the coast is somewhat clear since the IRS has postponed their implementation of a new rule change for the second consecutive year. And this change, initially introduced in the American Rescue Plan of 2021, would significantly impact taxpayers who receive business income through digital payment platforms like Venmo, Cash App, Etsy, and Airbnb. The rule would effectively lower the threshold for reporting business transactions on these platforms, requiring the issuance of a 1099-K form for annual business income that exceeds $600 from one or more business transactions. And that can include sending and or receiving money to and from friends and family on apps like Venmo, Zelle, and Cash App to cover dinner or repay them for spotting you on movie theater tickets. And the delay in enforcing this rule comes after feedback indicated a need for more time to ensure effective implementation and to prevent taxpayer confusion amongst their new 80,000 some odd fully armed to the teeth IRS tax agents. Think accountant, but with a gun and a badge. And the IRS said their primary focus aims to simplify compliance for all parties involved, including small business owners, freelancers, those with side hustles, and gig workers. IRS Commissioner Danny Werfel emphasized the importance of working with various groups and tax professionals to facilitate a smoother transition to the new requirements. And right now, for the 2023 tax year, the existing reporting rules remain in effect. Currently, third-party payment platforms are still required to report gross business income to both the taxpayer and the IRS, but only if the taxpayer conducts more than 200 business transactions and earns over $20,000 in total from these transactions. More importantly, these rules apply to payments for goods and services, including tips, and they have forewarned everyone because if taxpayers receive a 1099-K form in error, either because their business transactions did not meet the current thresholds or the form included personal transactions, they should refer to the IRS website for guidance on correcting the situation. Man, yeah, I can only imagine the level of customer no service when dialing up the IRS or initiating an online chat for support and to report an error. Yeah. And what you need to know right now and to get prepared for 2024 is that for the tax year 2024, the IRS has announced a modification to the planned changes regarding tax reporting for business transactions made through third-party platforms. Instead of implementing the previously announced $600 threshold, the IRS will adopt a phased-in approach. And so basically, what this means is that for 2024, third-party platforms will only be required to issue a 1099-K form if a taxpayer's business transactions exceed $5,000. And this approach aims to address taxpayer and stakeholder concerns more effectively by allowing the agency to refine its operational procedures and capture more small businesses and side hustles in their net. Man, I tell you what, it's a never-ending battle with these folks, but stick with me here and we will get through this together. I want you guys to watch this video next because you really need to know what's happening to YouTubers and other social media influencers and content creators who are getting sued, arrested, demonetized, and thrown in jail. Homesteaders and preppers beware. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.